Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It's Wednesday. World's greatest dad is in effect. Mind you, now that I'm an empty nester, my dad role has resorted to this obnoxious guy in the text chats where like they're having a mature discussion, like the three ladies of the house, and I just come in with some sort of smart ass comments and jokes and stuff. That's what my dad role has gone down to. So our second close Gordo over here should be able to take over any second. What's going on, Gordo?
Not much. What's going on with you?
We're all good, getting ready for a game. We figured like we would still do like a short morning show so the gang can join us. Everybody grab their cup of coffee or tea and join us and like chat about some of the headlines over here. We'll talk about this. Do we care about it? Nelson is in the house. Sparky, God knows where Sparky is, but he's here. And John is here. John, what's happening?
It's Wednesday. We have 3 shows, including this one. So if people are not fond of us, sorry. They're gonna see us quite a few times today. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, just when people were kind of like getting to cope with that concept, let me throw one. I have actually 4 today because we had the panel show tonight too.
All right, there we go.
You were like 3, I might be able to handle. You were like, no, not 4.
You're so sad. You're so sad about empty nesting and just pushing yourself into everyone's households now.
pretty much, and I'm doing pretty much the same thing, just hopping up and making some obnoxious comments and jokes. It works like that. This is my life now, I guess. So this is what we're rolling with. Okay, let's talk about a couple of the headlines. I wanted to talk about mainly the press conference, and then there's some news that came out yesterday that is just too stupid to even understand. We talked about, sadly, John knows, we've gone through, and I think we've had you in a couple of those conversations too, Gordo. Like, how do people do this stuff? Some of the sexist, racist stuff that happens that makes you wonder how the hell in this day and age, kind of a thing. But let's start with the Liverpool stuff. I want to tell you guys this, and John, you tell me what you decipher out of this in terms of like lineups moving forward and how we approach the League Cup. Because Ryan was saying it's a cup that no one cares about, but Pep says, our Pep, in the press conference, normally in the cups we give debuts, but we're not here just for that. Players need to develop. I really feel, and Jota said it to me, like Jota is in the background, like Dwight, like assistant to the regional manager or something. The best thing in the 21-22 season when we went for trophies was we stayed in the League Cup so long. Everyone gets game. A healthy squad needs. I think he means like that's something a healthy squad needs. So what do you take of that in terms of what we should be expecting to see in the League Cup and the FA Cup and stuff in lineups?
I think we're probably going to take it seriously, especially now we're out of Champions League. We won't take the Europa League as seriously as we do the Champions League, so we kind of have more leeway to take these competitions, meaning the FA Cup and the League Cup, more seriously, I guess. And to be fair, Jota makes a good point. Like, it's great if we make a run. It was really fun. Like, say what you want about the value, I guess, of the trophy or whatever, but that League Cup run that we did, like with the penalty shootout win over Leicester and then the 2 legs over Arsenal, that was still pretty memorable. It was one of my finer memories as a Liverpool fan. So in terms of what it means going forward, I definitely feel like we're gonna have quite a bit of starters there to maybe close out some of the bigger games, or like maybe against Leicester today, we're probably going to see like some of the bigger names, like, the Gravenberches, the Jotas, the Gakpos. I wouldn't be surprised if Nunez or Diaz actually get a few minutes in here or there. So listen, I'm all for it. Like, I'd want us to win every trophy as much as possible this season. So definitely all for it.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan says, so I guess this is where we're at with this. To be clear, I care about it if we're in it. The moment we're out, it's dead to me. Other cups I keep watching.
Right.
Out. Do you approach it the same way? Like Sparky says, in the UK, it's still big. I don't know big, but it's still like something that I think, because overall there's more of a community feel, obviously, to the sport in the UK, and all these little teams have a shot at it, and the FA Cup and stuff. This is the beauty of the FA Cup and stuff like that. While maybe the FIFA fan or whatever is more looking at the Champions League of players they know, like the people who like kind of approach the sport a bit more romantic kind of appreciate the League Cup and stuff like that. Where are you at it with Gordo? Is it like what Ryan says, like the Charity Shield, where if you're in it, you watch it. If you're not, you couldn't care less. Or what is it now? The Community Shield, whatever the hell it's called.
Definitely. It is 100% that. It's one of those where it's just. I mean, they used to literally call it the Mickey Mouse Cup. That's why I put my title as a thing, because Liverpool it would just be nothing to them. It would just be something else to let the kids run around when the big guys are doing the Premier League or the first division at that point. But I think it's undervalued because our December for this league is so jam-packed in terms of the schedule, and it's so grueling. It's where a lot of teams kind of falter out and they lose that momentum for a title chase or for a top four. And a lot of people undervalue the immense boost that a trophy in January gives you. And I think that's a lot of people, that could reignite a title chase for a lot of teams. So I think that, getting that win and getting a cup competition out of the way really early in the second half of the season is what a lot of teams need.
Yeah, I think not only that, I mean, I always want to stay in the League Cup to get people minutes. And this was, normally when the squad was not as deep, I guess, you had, a lot more kids and stuff like that. And it was more about, let's find what we got in them. Like, let's give him some actual games. Let's see what we got. It's one thing to watch U21 highlights and be like, this kid's going to be great, and then never hear from him again. And having him actually playing meaningful games against maybe some big boys and stuff like that and see what they do. It feels like now, John, it has taken a slightly different role. Same concept, but you're getting a lot more minutes to your immediate backups and stuff like that. So I know, I've been harping on Costas, and I was, I'm being told he needs like a run of games. So maybe a player like that can get a run of games. So when called upon in the Premier League, or if something happens, he comes in, or heck, in the later rounds in these tournaments, he's in form. Then we can say, yeah, it's just like having Robertson out there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I feel like we have a big squad right now. Like, sure, we might be missing a key, like a elite six, maybe, if we're gonna nitpick holes in our squads. But in terms of like the raw size of it, it's quite big. So these guys, they're not gonna be playing every week. So the League Cup serves as an opportunity, alongside the Europa League now, for like you said, our fringe players to play, and that's good. So you'll never know. Like, for example, God forbid Robertson gets like a knock or something, and Tsimikas has to come in. Like, he's ready. He's ready. He's got the minutes in. He's got the legs in, because he's been playing in the League Cup. So that's always going to be beneficial for us and for other squads, for other clubs who have relatively big squads. So for us, like for the Tsimikas, the Endos, the Gakpos and the Jotas who don't necessarily start each game, it's massively beneficial for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing them playing right now, because obviously we didn't see them as much as we would like them. We didn't see them as much as we would like to start. So.
I mean, it gives people like Ando and like an opportunity to kind of like show himself. A lot of players in this squad, and I think you get better performances when called upon with the top team, in the Premier League or whatever the case might be, because he's already got like a run of games. Curtis Jones, let's talk about this, because he did mention Curtis Jones. I can't recall, so you remind us and turn yourself in there, Gordo. What your opinion on Jones was, because I know a lot of us were like, man, I don't know, like if it wasn't like a local lad, I don't know if we would get as many opportunities and stuff like that. I don't know if you were there, because he has really stepped up his game. Where are you at with him right now?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's definitely stepped up his game. I think what ended up happening, we talked a little bit about it last week before the midweek game in Europe. A lot of these players, when you are the young kid and you're kind of pushed out on the field, like you can't do any wrong, and so there's a lot less pressure on you, and you can flourish and you're not scared to make mistakes. And then he kind of slotted into an actual position when we had all these injuries, and that's a big ask for a young kid, and he kind of faltered a little bit. And then he wasn't favored by Klopp. But then at the end of last year, when there really wasn't anyone else to turn to, I think Klopp really gave him a job interview. And can you last? This is it for you, because we're coming up on this summer window. We could easily either loan you out or move you on. because we're looking to bring in some midfield talent. Prove to me that you still belong in the squad. And I think he did a fantastic. I think he earned his spot, at least on the bench. And so I've really enjoyed watching him come back to the player that I think that everyone thought he was going to be on those first couple showings early in last season. And let's be honest, it was a terrible season for everybody. To put all that pressure on such a young kid for a performance of a team that really themselves were not good, I think is unfair. So I'm still on Team Jones.
I know. See, I knew Sparky would catch the bait, and you could just reel him back in. I know he's not a huge fan. He's just like, and I think he is probably, I don't know, if you get Gravenberg maybe worked into the squad, or if Endo lives more to the potential, Jones is probably, in that rotation to be the fourth guy, fifth guy in terms of that. And I agree with Ryan. I do love the quiet, boring Jones a lot more than I scored like this against Everton once. Let me try that again, Jones. Or look at this move, guys, kind of a Jones. So I think he's doing more like the dirty work. And I don't know, John, maybe I felt like, like Jones was told, hey, you're going to start these next 6-7 games. Like at the end of last season, he played in a way where he was not as worried that he was going to be yanked any minute or he was being watched. Like he had this time. I feel like some players, when they come off the bench and when they get limited minutes, either they can really work into that role and make an impact, or sometimes they try a little too hard to make an impact, which makes them play even worse. So they get pushed even further in the depth chart. I almost got the sense that he was told, hey, you're going to play. So don't freaking worry. Go out there and play. You're going to start again next week and the week after that. Rest of the season, that spot is yours. Or whatever happened in his head, he took it as that, because it looks like a totally different mindset when it comes to the player itself.
Yeah, it helped as well. Like with what Gordo was saying, it was pretty inconsequential. Like we weren't really chasing it. We had an outside chance for top 4, I guess, but then that was more like it's not necessarily a high possibility then. So it was basically a low risk situation for Jones. So to your point, he kind of had really no pressure to go out there and impose himself, and which he did, to be fair. And, credit to him, he kind of cleaned up his game, less of the flashy tricks and more of the, if there's no option, just recycle the ball, keep it moving. And, again, it's great to see him develop into like a surefire squad option in which if he starts, you actually wouldn't mind, compared to before where you're like, oh crap, Jones is starting. We're going to lose the ball like 2 or 3 times and get counted on the break or some shit like that. So, sorry, Tim, you were going to say something?
No, go ahead.
It's just like, oh man, like the West Ham game comes to mind when we lost 3-2 a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, where we got countered into oblivion because Jones kept Jones kept losing the ball in midfield. So it's glad to see him take this next step into becoming a club midfielder, where, if we're being real, he's kind of got the tools, hasn't he? He's tall, he can be strong, and obviously strength, while it might not be valuable for other teams, it's definitely something that's valuable in a club midfield. So he's definitely got the physical tools. So I'm glad he's taking this next step, and long may it continue, because at this point we need as much pieces as we can in the midfield, considering we don't have like an elite 6, so we kind of need our 8s working together, more often than not. So.
Yeah, he understands the system. He now, I think, understands his role a lot better, and kind of play that role. Because let's face it, the midfield that was really successful was that quiet, boring midfield that everybody constantly complained about while we were winning every game. They were like, this midfield is so boring. It's like, who cares? We're winning. Whatever they're doing it right and well. Like when Genie and like Hando and Fab were there, it was like, it's boring.
We won 7-0, and the midfield didn't score any goals.
Yeah. Yeah, Nelson says, until someone else steps up today, when I think of the midfield, I immediately think of Maka, Sobo, and Jones first. I agree with that. I think, right now, the default starting 11, that midfield is probably the midfield. And I think people who can work into that is probably Endo. Like, people who threaten Jones' spot is probably Endo, not because he's going to play there, but he could push Maka to Jones spot, and obviously Gravenberg. So it's going to be interesting to see that. And yeah, Ryan says it could be argued that the last 10 games last year, Jones and Trent were our best players.
Yes.
And yes, I think so as well. Like he has. Chris says he has a goal in. Z says he has a goal in him. I saw the Sir. I thought it was Chris, but Sir Z says he has a goal in him. Close control is excellent for a kid, especially in pressure situations. And I think so. Like he has that technical ability to work in tight spaces, and that's what we need out of that midfield. So, okay, here is Chris. Jones says has been around for the team for about 4 years. Only naturally is going to progress. And yeah, sometimes I think when a young player comes in too hot and heavy, if you will, like what is the next step? There's suddenly going to be Mbappe. There is really no next huge step. So it's kind of unfair. Whereas if we see somebody slowly progress, we're like, he's getting better every week. But if somebody kind of like jumps onto the stage and with a great performance, we're like, well, what else you got? I mean, no, what else are you going to do? I just played a great game. So I think it just kind of like affects the mindset of the player too. I think Curtis wanted to outdo that goal against Everton, like that game he had and stuff like that. And I think it affects the player. So let's do some of this first. Get this out of the way because I suck at this, but let's do it. If you have not already, head on over to YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook right now, if you're not, give us a like, first of all, for the show. But then more importantly, subscribe to the channel. So you can qualify to win the home jersey. You'll be amazed how far a like and a subscribe and everything like that goes. YouTube, American Scouser, you can find us right there. 3-4 days left in this thing to win. So all you got to do is subscribe. It's free. You get all our good stuff. So do it. And Ryan says, so subscribe. I hope to God Ryan just did not subscribe today because as much as I suck at this, Ryan, I have probably asked this for like 50 times over the last 2 weeks. So it better not be today. It better not be today.
Maybe he wanted to stop hearing you say it. Maybe that. All right.
Whatever works, man. Whatever works.
We did lose a subscriber last night and gain one this morning.
Because I know, like, like I used to say, like when I was in management, people would be like, Tim, I'm just doing it so you shut up and not say anything about it. I was like, dude, whatever gets it done, I really don't care as long as it gets done. So much pressure on these young players like Ben Woodburn. Yes, good old Woodburn. And a local kid is always going to have extra pressure, but Linder said it. He has a Scouser mentality. He gets it. Yeah, Gordon, I mean, you can probably speak to this a bit more. A local kid, we always felt like, hey, he gets more opportunities because he's a local kid and maybe gets less flack. Or does he get more from fans because he's local? Like, because people want him to do well. People want him to be another Trent, the Scouser and the team kind of a thing. Is that more pressure? Or in some ways, you get more support than, let's say, maybe a Naby Keita that walks into the Scout from outside?
I think that you get the benefit of the doubt from the home fans because you are a local kid. However, there is this maybe unspoken weight that's put on them because of players like Stevie G, because of Trent, who have excelled and like basically become, heroic icons of the club. That yes, they're from this small little town. Even like Jamie Carragher, for instance, just players that grew up in the city of Liverpool that then become these heroes. There's all this weight and history that's like thrown on you, which I think is a lot of pressure for a young kid. And yeah, you might get the benefit of the doubt in the comments and some of the stuff that fans are saying outside of the stadium, but internally there's this like, yes, another Scouser, he's going to be great, he's going to lift cups, and then that kind of plays into like the whole city is behind me, and you have a lot of people to let down if you don't do well.
Yeah,
more pressure on local kids. Look at Stevie G, carry the club on his shoulders, the pressure was on us. I think that's a really good point, that more than being local, probably being compared to another local is probably like the bigger difference. I mean, there are a lot of names. Chris says, "Are you subscribed?"
that's a good question.
He's won the last three.
Yeah,
I was gonna say yes, and you will know for sure when the winner is announced. It's gonna be like, I won't go by Timuchin. I'll kind of hide it like Timothy Uras or something. It's like a subtle twist to my name over there. But let's talk about this a little bit. This is such a freaking weird story. In our we have a Facebook chat with all our writers that where they do the scheduling and stuff like that. And this was brought up last night. That's how I heard of it, at least. And it looks like John is the same way, because John is in that gang as one of our writers. So Napoli, this is such a weird story, and you would think when is it gonna stop? Sadly, it probably will never stop. But so Napoli puts a couple of TikToks. I don't know if you're seeing the TikToks. I believe the coconut one is no longer, but I'm sure somewhere in the internet out there. So two of them basically mocking their own player, which what? Like, I don't get it. But and it's pretty racist. I mean, he's a coconut. So. And then the other one, like, it's like a fast speed sound about, like, like him complaining about a penalty and missing a penalty. Like, I don't even okay, so let's even put the ridiculous, like the racist tones. That is probably not a shocker in Serie A to see, John. As the young person, more closer to the TikTok generation out of us all three over here, how the heck is that even a good TikTok or funny?
I mean, first of all, like,
explain yourself as a generation.
First of all, like, clarification, I don't spend any time on TikTok. Like, the only time I spent time on TikTok, Tim, is because when you said we were gonna make a TikTok account and I had to send all that stuff to Anan. So just for clarification, like, when my friend was going through my phone the other day, he was like, "Oh, you I didn't know you were a TikTok guy." I was like, no, man, it's this other thing I'm doing. We have to have TikTok right now." So I just wanted to get that out of the way for clarification. Secondly,
by the way, you should have Ryan go over there. Ryan, if you're looking for other things to subscribe, head on over to TikTok. Right. I know for a fact Ryan is on TikTok.
It's just John doing dances.
We talked about stuff that I signed up for. This isn't what I signed up for, Tim. This brother got me doing private.
We're only publishing like shorts and clips. Next up is John doing some TikTok classes. So,
oh boy.
There's only so many followers you can get with shorts, man. You're gonna have to take one for the team. So.
I don't think we're that desperate yet, guys. Please subscribe so Tim won't let me dance, please.
Dude, that should be a good one. Subscribe or we'll make John dance.
Oh, fucking hell. You know, I might start to demand compensation if you start.
So you're saying for a price you would dance?
Oh no! I'm not like a certain former captain where my dignity is for sale. Just putting it out there.
What if it is generational wealth? Hey, you know what? Actually, we are about to start Patreon, and we're looking for some certain incentives. Maybe the higher tiers will access to your dance videos on TikTok.
No.
Just thought about this.
Moving on. Can we move on, please? Can we move on?
I'm going to say this for the next meeting. I think that we got some great ideas here. Okay, go ahead, John. Explain yourself.
Damn it, I lost my train of thought with the whole dancing thing, but like
all those dance moves.
Alan says he thought TikTok was for under 20s. It's definitely 20s because my daughters and stuff are. Well, I mean, people are like I have people I play Call of Duty with, and they're about my age. Because that's the crowd I hang out with. No, most of them are younger than me, but this dude is about my age, and he'll always be like, "Hey, there's supposed to be a thing over here. I saw it on TikTok." I'm like, "Dude, there's Call of Duty on TikTok," but apparently there's everything on TikTok, and John is here to tell us about it. Go ahead, John.
Well, first of all, how do you even clown your star player like that? Right? Like, imagine if Liverpool made an offensive video about, let's say, Salah or something.
Yeah.
Everyone would be up in arms. So I don't understand. Like, I know everyone is just like, oh, this is just typical Italian. But this isn't even like a racial thing. This is just common sense. Why would you antagonize your own star player? Like, imagine if he leaves because of this. Imagine what the higher-ups at Napoli are going to say. Like, we lost our star player because you offended him because of a TikTok video. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to be fair to Osimhen, he has every right to be offended. Let me just clarify that. It's just an absolutely ridiculous situation. That when I read it, I was like, what? Like, I was half awake when I read it, and I was like, what? It woke me up a bit. I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is like something like Dumb and Dumber would do in a clown show or some shit like that. So I have no words, honestly. No words.
Sparky says, haven't seen stories, but Italy, Spain, and some other parts of Europe are still a few years behind with their racist and sexist attitudes and behavior. And
To disagree.
that's the thing. Maybe it's they don't. I mean, we're talking about it right before we went on air, and I don't know if that's the case, Gordo. Like they have an even younger version of John. It's like a freshman in college as an intern. They were like, "Hey, you do TikTok for us, post funny clips, okay?" And then they leave the room, and then he has a free for all, and he's like, "Oh, my buddy loved it. I showed it to him, so I posted it." Like there, I know there's not as much of a filter as we would like to on these social media accounts of clubs and like corporations and stuff like that at times. That's why these fiascos do happen, or they try to be edgy and stuff like that. Like, how do you explain this? And is it like really based purely on racism, because they would not do this on another player?
Well, that's what I was thinking, is like, maybe we should follow the Napoli TikTok and see it. If they do this for every player, like
subscribe.
if there's 24 videos where it's like, this guy's a mango, you know, and it's like, oh, maybe, and then it's like, well, you know, maybe you went too far with the coconut thing, but we did do it for 24 players and everyone's a different kind of fruit. Then maybe it might make a little more sense. But I think they literally just targeted a player that scored 31 goals for him last year, which is like, what the?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, you know. It's like, yeah. Like, so I guess unless I look at the Napoli TikTok, and I can probably assume that there isn't 24 different videos where like there's this random song like "I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl, I'm a banana" or whatever for like 6 different players or something like that. Like, then I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense. Like John said, just doesn't. It makes absolutely no sense, because let's say he doesn't even leave. Like, he's threatening to sue, which is even, I think, more ridiculous. We're like, you're 31 goal a season striker.
It's
suing your club because of TikTok. And I think it probably is. There's just some kid, and there's probably like 6 or 7 adults, you know, with suits that are sitting with this kid he's probably in a hoodie. It's up. He's got the thing like, you know, where it's just like the Eric Cartman, and they're like, why did you do this? And he's like, oh no, I thought it was funny.
Thought it was funny.
He's like, Mario over here thought it was funny. I mean, yeah, I just don't understand the thinking behind it. And there's definitely racist tones behind it. I think you would automatically think about it before they even posted it. And like Sparky says, I think it goes back to, I mean, it's not a shocker where it happens. I mean, there are some silly things happening here too, I guess, in social media, but you would think somebody in the room, and I'll tell you that, I mean, here's the thing. We know for a fact there are certain parts of this world where soccer fans obviously are a lot racist than in other parts of the world. But I can also tell you, like, if this is really a kid doing it, I can tell you a kid could have done this with zero racist thoughts. I think I've told this story before. I mean, being from Turkey, I started college in like London, and we had like an international business class, and we had a bunch of like, you know, American students as well that are coming into London and stuff. And it was like marketing. They show us this like United Colors of Benetton ads. And I think I told the story on air before, but I mean, this is what when it comes to racism, I always go back to this. And I always say, this is why it's like taught more than anything else into you. You're not born with it or anything crazy like that. And it's just an ad showing a little black boy and a little white girl, like these 2 little cute kids. And the girl is wearing like an angel costume, and the boy is wearing like a devil costume, right? So normally, like, you know, he shows it to us. He's like, you know, the moment it came up, American students were like, whoa, it's just like, what, back the fuck off kind of thing. And we were like, what? Like, it didn't mean anything to me. I could look at that for like 3 hours, and if they said, what's wrong with it, I'd be like, the costume is bad, this thing is torn. Like, I would never come in my head, especially back then, having been somebody out of the Turkey for the first time in like London, so still understanding this whole racism thing when it comes to that. And I would never come, if you gave me 3 hours, I would never come, ooh, they made the black kid devil, the white kid angel. You know, I would never come up with it, because that's not how you think. So I can see somebody like that over there maybe not thinking it and being innocent about it. But I think we kind of do an association, Gordo, knowing that this happens a lot over there. So it's very likely that he did find it funny, and maybe because he did see it racist as well, because his family does, or the environment he grew up in does.
Yeah, and there is some of that, but I don't think and I don't think you're saying this, but it's not. I still don't find that excusable because like now we are globally connected. Like the Napoli fans aren't just from the Napoli region of Italy. They're like all over the world, especially on TikTok. Like they know what's racist and what's not racist. And yeah, maybe it's acceptable when you're sitting around the dinner table. I mean, I don't think it's acceptable, but maybe acceptable in your family to say something along those lines and everyone gets a laugh out of it. And no one thinks it's racist, that there is racial undertones, but they don't see it as racist. Maybe that's great, but like to put it on TikTok that can be seen by everyone in the world.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest difference. Like I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean a lot of people will see it because they did see it and they got offended by it. So you got to think of everybody and not just like some bozo who came from Istanbul and didn't think about it. So I mean, that's kind of that's your gig when you're global, and this obviously TikTok is, and John can tell you a lot of people watch this. Our resident TikTok representative, John over here.
Where's Anon? Come on, man.
It is Anon, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, it's just like a obnoxious story to have your star players sue you for posting stuff that makes fun of him, number one, and two, has like racist tones on it, number two. I don't even know which. I mean, obviously racist tones are much worse, but even if that wasn't there, even if you said no, he wasn't even thinking about that, like why would you post a thing mocking your, like, it sounds like goes back to us posting something on, does Liverpool even have a TikTok account?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
You would think so. Come on, John, come on. You're following it.
I'm telling you, man. I was honest.
That's right.
I was just there because of Scouser. Like literally, my only thing subscribed to is American Scouser on my TikTok account.
Sparky says, I think definitely that gets him into awkward conversations. I mean, I've adjusted obviously, or after the first, as you see it, you adjust it because you understand the concept. But initially, when you're not in it, it's really like kind of odd to understand. And this could have happened here. But it could also be, I think it becomes a lot more suspicious when it's coming from an area where you see it over and over and over again. It almost makes it like acceptable. Football flashback gets back to topic. We're going to talk a lot about this in the pre-match. So you're going to see our mugs over there in like a few hours over here talking about it. But if you made like an early prediction, does that sound right to you guys? I kind of like what he's got going over here. I think I'm full on board. I'm full flashback. John, do you like this lineup over here? Keller, Matic, Ibu, Kwanzaa, Costas, Endo, Harvey, Gravenberg in midfield, Gakpo, Jota, and Doak up top.
I like it, but where's my boy Joey G? That's it.
He's resting for Tottenham.
He's resting for Tottenham. Isn't Trent going to be all right for Spurs? Right? Like
I don't know, because based on his news, he did not make it, like this game came too early for Trent. Knowing our trends, and not only that, I don't know if I want Trent starting cold turkey going against Son or somebody, or whoever
I guess
left.
Yeah.
So I felt like if Trent was going to play this weekend, he would have come into this game the last 20 minutes or something like that. If we're not seeing any trends, I don't think we're seeing trends over the weekend. I mean, like Football Flashback says, like he just got back into training. Normally, if he got back to training today, though, let me ask you that, John. In normal conditions, if he starts training during the week, and then he practiced like 3-4 times, maybe you would consider him for the weekend. But the fact that he's been out so long, I just don't see him starting against Tottenham. Where are you at with that?
Well, yeah, probably. I just really think that as good as Gomez has been, we're missing that outlet. I still feel in terms of Trent on the right. So, but it does make perfect sense. Where if he's going to be going up against that demon, which is Son, he's going to get torn to shreds. So, yeah, it's entirely dependent. So, in terms of if Trent isn't probably not going to be fit, that's probably the lineup that I would go with. But Cetic at right back still worries me, especially how he started against Lask. But as I said before, how are we going to end up trusting these players? We just have to keep playing them. And maybe that was just, it was his first time playing that role. Understandable. Maybe he'll be better now. But, it's probably a decent enough lineup to go on and win. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like where I'm at with the whole Besiktas right back experiments is probably like he learned his lesson. There were lessons to be learned there, and I'm sure they went back and looked at it. Or maybe he's like that, man, if I do too good over here, I've seen people getting stuck at positions they're not supposed to be, so I'll suck so I can go back to where I'm at. How do you like that lineup? Obviously, once the lineup comes up, we're going to come on air with our pre-match show. But as an early lineup prediction here, how do you like that? Because this is basically pretty much what I have.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think that's
You're like, let it be said, let it be done.
I like that as well. The Besiktas at right back, that is something, you know, like I think that you can give him the pass for his first performance. I mean, I obviously didn't go professional, but I played in college, and there's just something about like you're still on the field. It's the same field, and you could play midfield and drop back and be in that same spot and make those same tackles. But there's something about like starting in defense. You're like, where am I? What the fuck am I doing back here? There's nobody behind me. So like I used to, you know, if we'd got a red card or something, I'd always drop back into defense. And like my first 5 minutes was just like, what? So
and I think, you know, you're so used to like spacing and like what you look at and things like that, especially for a young player. I can definitely see that. I mean, I remember going from defensive midfielder initially, because, you know, our top dog was sweeper, and when he graduated, I took his over spot and became a sweeper. I was like, which, you know, I have made the position obsolete. As we all know, there's no sweepers anymore. So once they saw me, they got rid of that shit. But they were like, this ain't working. This is not how any of this works. But I love that, because you suddenly it felt like you had entire vision. And then I remember I had to play defensive mid one time. I was like, this is not good, because now I don't know, my back is turned to people and stuff. You kind of get used to that spacing and the vision and where everybody is going to be, and you play well within that. So when it changes a little bit, like you're saying, you're still on the same pitch, still the same dudes, still the same system, but there's a little bit of awkwardness. And obviously, you know, European nights, a lot higher pressure situation for a kid like that. It's not playing high school, so I'm sure it makes a huge difference. So before we see the lineup, we're going to do some predictions. But before we do that, let's do this one more time. Make sure Ryan goes over there and subscribes. But head on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and give us a like. It really, really goes a long way, as I recently found out. So give the video a like and give us a subscription, and you'll be able to know immediately when we go live for the pre-match today. And then you'll see more of us bozos join with us, some other bozos. John, give us an early score prediction, and then when the lineup comes in, we'll see if it changes.
So I'm gonna go, and you know, Timochin approved 3-1.
Tested and several times approved. Yes. Ryan says just unsubscribe and subscribe. That's nice. That's nice. See, Football Flashback knows how it's done. Thank God somebody on the same page over here. And then while you're at it, if you're in the mood, head on over to TikTok and follow us over there. John's dancing videos. You know what? Gordon has some moves too.
Yeah.
No. You look like you knew some dances.
Right. I was just like, whoa. Gordon just breaking out the moves.
Just dancing, doing some stuff. Yeah. Okay, it's all coming out. Thomas just comes in to spit on FSG in the last second. Well, as long as you go and subscribe, as long as American Scouser is in, we'll talk FSG out on a different day. But thanks a lot, Thomas. Make sure to hit the like and the subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. Go to early prediction, and we'll see if it changes. Where are we at?
Yeah, 3-1. Why not? Let's score first. Everyone goes.
You know what? The joke is on you guys, because I'm going with 4-1 on this game.
Nice.
We should go 3-1 against West Ham. You did, right?
Yes.
We're probably.
I have like a stamp over here. I just put like the prediction.
3-1.
3-1. So, for home games, that's my standard go-to. I feel like I'm hoping for like an early goal this game, and that will open things up for us. Ryan says 2-0, closer than we're comfortable with. I don't know. I don't have as much. I mean, we talked about it in the beginning, but I feel like I don't have as much anxiety, Gordo, about this game. Whatever happens, happens. Obviously, if we're out, I'm going to be disappointed, but I I was like thinking about it earlier when I first woke up, like in terms of the feeling I had. I was like, I would be slightly more nervous if it was quarterfinals in the Europa as opposed to here in the League Cup. Are you the same way, or they're about the same weights?
It's like when you have a girlfriend, you have a girlfriend in college, right? And she's like, great in bed, and then she breaks up with you, and you're like, yeah,
do tell these stories. Okay.
Now I can focus on studying, and you're like still sad inside.
Actually, that's a very good analogy.
Now I can really cram down and study. And
yeah.
Oh, great. We just talked about being politically correct and stuff, and Gordo's over here. So
but that literally, that's how I view the League Cup. Is just like if you go through all the way, you're like, yeah, that was awesome. If not, you're like, well, now we can focus on the league, so we can really cram in and get the fourth.
It's like a win-win either way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You guys can do both. It's not one or the other, guys.
Right. Exactly. Right. It's like.
Watching Liverpool is just like that, Gordo. Emphasis on the word. Okay, this show is getting out of control so fast. Spinning out of control, if you will. John, are you with us? Are you with the girlfriend, or are you going to focus on your studies? What are you doing?
Well, my whole thing is, you can do both, but like, you won't be able to do both at maximum capacity. Like,
it is a perfect analogy.
Right. So like you're kind of fighting a war on two fronts there, and if you want to focus on one front, like, why do you think the Germans lost World War II? Right, they were fighting on too many fronts. So I don't know why I just freaking put in a history reference in there, but
holy cow, this show, I even gave you guys multiple chances to get out of it, and you guys kept doubling up on this. Sourcey says, thanks, my 11-year-old. Hey man, these are life lessons. We're proud to provide life lessons. Yeah, you guys are like rolling up the shows. Yeah, this has gone off rails so fast, so soon, so early in the day. But yeah, it's a quick taste of the craziness you will get. And based on this conversation, before we get canceled, it's a good chance for you guys to go and subscribe and win that jersey. And like 4 days left on that ordeal. And then tune in. Will be once the lineup comes up, usually like 10 or 15 minutes after we go on live on air. And it'll be us three, join with some contributors as well along the way as we lead to the game. And we'll be back right after for the post-match as well. Have a great another 3 hours or so, and we'll see you guys here for the pre-match. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.